Hey, hey,
Hey.
Jen. It's so kind of cool being on the live feed thing with the music and the little title cards. I love that little trippy trips thing.
Right.
Did you like that?
I do. I love that. Are you seeing me on gallery view?
I am now seeing you on gallery view. Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
Um, so here we are, another week. Yay!
Yay.
We're on the YouTube live thing, and we're gonna also upload a recording to Facebook, as
Right.
per we did before, right?
Yes.
So if anybody wants to watch this again, like that's going to happen. But if then,
Hey,
or if they want to catch it later, you can catch it later.
we're
You don't have
also
to.
on Instagram.
Oh, we're also on Instagram,
Yes,
on
we are. We're
IG.
everywhere.
Cool. Um, so this week we're talking about summer vacations that have
Ooh.
maybe kind of gone not so well, or probably not so well. Would you have a favorite sort of memory of a summer vacation that's maybe not gone
I
the way
do.
you
It's
planned
kind
it?
of
Oh,
it wasn't my of my many horrendous travels with broken heels and meeting strangers in airports and things going awry. There's a lot of that, kind of noise. But this one, so it was when I was around 7, my dad had his second heart attack. And my mom thought, well, we can't let Jenny miss out on her summer vacation. So my mom loaded, the two of us onto a Greyhound bus, and we
oh,
went to
thank God!
Jasper.
I thought you said my mother loaded the gun. That's what I was.
Well, that came later. No, that was
Okay,
later.
so
She
she loaded you
loaded,
onto a Greyhound bus.
we're on a Greyhound bus, and we went to Jasper because as a family, our little family of me, my mom and dad, we would often go to the mountains in the summer. My dad loved the mountains. So my dad was in hospital, and my mom tried to make it as nice as she could. So she decided that for dinner one of the nights we would go to A&W and have teen burgers and French fries and go and eat them in the woods. So we took our teen burgers and our French fries and we went to eat them in the woods. And my mom found a little spot just up the hill where there was a rock that we could both sit on. And no sooner had we opened our bags and had bun in hand and taken the first juicy bite, then a bear came barreling down the hill towards us, headed straight for the burger. And my mom, who was not lacking at all in attentiveness to me, abandoned me. She dropped the burger, she dropped the bag, she dropped the French fries, and just went flying for her life towards the campsite. And the bear was following her. It was not a huge bear, it was a small bear. And I just sat there, with this idea of it would all be fine. Meanwhile, all these campers came out and they were looking at me sort of between the bear was between me and my mom and how would this play out? But it's Jasper. There's lots of bears and they become scavengers. They basically live off people's A&W teen burgers. So there was that. We had the bear incident and me realizing that my mom's life was marginally more important than my own. If a bit right, in that moment. And then I got sick. So I had a fever of 105. We were in this small little kind of, rooming house, not a rooming house, but a holiday home. And I was seeing bears all over the room, like hallucinations because of this fever. So I honestly can't remember how we got home, but I just remember the care that my mom put in planning this thing that was supposed to distract me from my dad's ill health. And God bless her, the bear got in the way. So
Well, and it probably distracted you from your dad's thing for a bit, right?
oh yeah, it did.
But now I have to, I think it's so apropos that that this bear came at you while you were eating A&W, because that is of course the mascot of A&W. Was it wearing like a little orange t-shirt and playing a tuba?
No, but there
So,
could have been some Don Draper dude sharing the campsite, and he wear there's an idea, because, you know, this was the 60s, and I don't think the bear had shown up yet. So what do you know?
Wow. Wow. That's pretty scary. That's pretty
It's
scary.
scary.
I
What
love
about
the
you?
fact that I love the fact that your mom ditched you. Well, well,
Was
I
not in her
remember,
nature.
well, it's in my mom's nature. Well, I have a story about kind of around the same time, probably. My dad was a commercial fisherman, and he fished out of Prince Rupert. We lived in Nanaimo, and he brought the boat back to Nanaimo, and we were going to go out for, like, I don't know, a few days or something like that, and be deckhands, me, my mom, and my dad. And it was gorgeous. Like, we went up, went past Bella Bella, and I remember seeing, porpoises, swimming in the bow wave, and killer whales. And it was just a really lovely bonding moment because, of course, my dad being a commercial fisherman, he would be gone in the summer. So it would be like,
Right.
me and my mom shipping me off somewhere. And then, but this was like a time for us to be together. And then, so everything was gorgeous. Everything was beautiful. And then the picture that my mom took of me, that is sort of encapsulates the whole kind of trip, basically, is she took a picture of me on the deck of the boat, having a poo in a bucket.
Oh,
And
God.
yeah, and she showed it to everybody. It's just like, and then this happened. Isn't that funny? Look at, she's having a bowel movement.
Oh,
And I'm just
God.
like, so all the beauty of the thing is gone. Just my butt on this bucket having a poo. So thanks, Mom. Basically what?
A vacation gone to shit. Really.
There you go. Yeah, it took a shit. It took a big shit. So that's my story. That's your story. Why don't we start with our guests now?
We
Because we have
should.
some good
We will.
guests. Yeah. So our first guest for today is a person that we've both known for a long time. I've known her probably a little bit better than you. She's an improviser, a veteran improviser. She's a world traveler, a gourmet cook, just an all-around great gal. It's Denny Williams.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey,
Good.
Denny.
How are you?
Good.
Good. So now I understand that you have a pretty recent summer story.
Yeah, and it is at the north end of Vancouver Island as well. My husband and I have, now my husband, just to point out first, is an award-winning and stylist of the year here in Vancouver hairdresser.
Yes.
He grew up at the north end of Vancouver Island in logging camps. So he kind of has that world in his background. It's not something that he is completely embraces, but he can do it if he has to. And we rented a motorhome out of Nanaimo, and we're heading up to Sontula, which is an island just off Port Hardy. And then we were going to go visit these logging camps that he grew up in. And we got to Sontula, and we were really off grid. So that's no electric. We had our own generator. And it was actually really fun. And this is something that we had always sort of entertained in the back of our minds, that we're going to buy a motorhome. We're going to travel all of North America, maybe Africa, because we love to, we're pretty good travelers. And when we were on Sontula, we were leaving, and Chris was to empty the black water tank. And now, so there's gray water, which is from the shower or your dishes, and then there's black water, and we all know where that's from. And we were sort of off grid, so we'd been using the toilet as mostly just in the night, because we would go use the pit toilets or wherever we were. We were on Berry Point, which is a very famous place on Sontula, where the killer whales come in and rub against the smooth rocks. We saw humpbacks. There you go. And when we got to Sontula, Chris said, I'm going to empty the black water because I think, I should just have some practice. And I go, great, he does. And the next couple of days, we went really off grid into Wass Lake and Vernon Camp. These are places that he grew up, that were communities that had been established by forest product companies. So we were on logging roads and really rattling this old motorhome. I kept saying to him when we'd stop, I go, Jesus, Chris, that black water doesn't smell right. And he was like, no, Denny, it's fine. And I was like, I grew up in trailers. My parents had it. We traveled a lot by, something's not right. So on the last day, we get to before you can bring it back, you have to empty all the gray water and black water, fill it with fresh water, and put in gas. And there's a co-op station in Lanceville, of all places, where you can get all of that done. So my husband pulls up the motorhome to where the sewer is, and he's been instructed on the black water, there is a macerator, which you just flip this little switch, everything gets macerated and goes out the tube. Nobody puts on gloves. It's all very simple. Right. And I'm in the front seat of the camper, because finally we've got internet again, and I'm on Twitter, and I hear my husband going, baby. Oh, no. Oh, Jesus, something smells. He goes, baby, we got a problem. And I kind of lean over and I look out the driver's window, and he's starting to get all sweaty and freaked out. And I think, oh, I better get out. So I throw my door open, and I look down and I think, holy shit. Really? And it is going, the black water is traveling underneath our van and going now towards the public septic or the drain pipes for the city of Lanceville. And I'm like, holy fuck, Chris. And I run around and I go, baby, is there anything I can do? He goes, there's nothing you can do. It's not working. And my husband is severely dyslexic. So he has malapropisms. And so instead of saying the macerator wasn't working, he's telling everybody the emancipator isn't working. So he's like, the emancipator's not working. And the guy behind us is like, dude, I ain't helping you. There's no and Chris is going, and every time he turns it on, he doesn't know this, but what happened was, when we were on all these logging roads, we broke a seal somewhere in this tump. But Chris is just panicking, and he's going, push the gray water through. Well, when you push the gray water on top of the black water, now the black water is full. So every time he turns it on, it's like, so we had to, we're in the co-op station. He goes, go, you have to get that. And I'm like, I don't even know who to call. So we go around, and there's a lineup now for the septic drain. And we go through it again, and Chris is talking to people, and everybody's like, no, you newbies, we can't help you. But finally, a couple had showed my husband that in their similar motorhome, there is a default drain that has a large gravity works with. And my husband, just on a sheer stroke of luck, I bought him something for Christmas at the superstore, which was a screwdriver, flashlight, can opener kind of thing. And my husband laid down on the ground, hooked it up. We were able to drain it out, and he found nothing of it funny too. And he was all sweaty, and he had, he was camping, so he had kind of a little bit of a growth. He looked like a homeless guy by the end of it. And he gets in the home, and I go, baby, you got to change those clothes. And at the time, it wasn't funny at all. He was really stressed, which makes me stressed. And once we got it back, and the people were great, they were like, oh, well, thank you. And Chris goes, these two little pieces broke off, and they go, oh, that's part of the seal. And that's when we kind of clicked in that that's what happened. When we were driving towards the ferry to come home, and we just started laughing, because really that was literally and figuratively a shit show.
It was. It really was.
Oh my God.
A lot of learning to do. I need a lot of learning.
That's so hilarious.
Was Chris covered in poo-poo like after he did?
No, he wasn't covered. And really there wasn't that much poo-poo in there, because we tended to use the when that needed to happen, we tended to use the pit toilets. It was just that, we're both, my husband's in his 60s, I'm in my late 50s. We have to pee in the middle of the night. But if you think of pee sitting in a bucket for like 5 days with not the right, it kind of has an odor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Oh my God. That I can just picture you guys. I can picture you kind of, just going, what can I do? I don't know, and everyone just, sitting there going, you guys are on your own.
Oh God.
And they're all guys from Nanaimo, right? So this is kind of in their DNA. And Chris is turning around, and my husband's very gregarious and very friendly, and he's trying to engage people to give him a hand. And the guy's like sitting on the top of his truck, waiting to empty his trailer, going, yeah,
right.
I don't know,
But now, if you're on set, you're going to have extra gratitude to the guys that clean the honey wagons, right? It's like there's technology involved.
Yeah, there is technology. If the macerator emancipator had been working, I think we would have had a better experience. I think because, it went to shit. That was our problem.
Right. Well, thank
well,
you.
Why don't we keep the shit show going on here? Why don't you introduce our next guest there, Jen?
We will. Our next guest is the wonderful and talented Reed Horty, who is a really talented guy, but has decided to give some of those talents away to real estate. And that's not such a bad thing.
There's your bear.
Oh, Jen, I'm so sorry.
There's the bear.
I didn't want to traumatize you. Let me get rid of that. Okay, that's better.
It is.
That's awesome, Reed.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Reed.
So yes, great to be here. I know initially you had asked me to do the Pride show, but it didn't work out. But nevertheless, I'm proud of some of my crappy vacations as well.
Right. Yes. And so you
what's behind you there, Reed?
Regular at Burning Man.
Yes, and that is what is behind me is an aerial view of Burning Man. And for the week that it exists, Black Rock City, which is what they call the campsite, is the third largest city in Nevada.
Wow.
And so what's behind me is an aerial view, and that is approximately 50,000 people. And the Burning Man himself, which can you see my cursor?
Is he in that black?
Yes, I can see your cursor.
Okay, where I'm circling the cursor, that's where the man himself is. And then all of these dots in the playa here are huge pieces of installation art.
Right.
And then these are all the places where people's campsites are. And at the far edges, on like up here and on the other side that you can't see in this photo, are where the raves are. And then there are other parties and things that go along the front edge. So it's quite a scene. And yeah, I've been there 6 times. If you've never been, I highly recommend it.
Right.
Why do you have? It looks like hell to me, Reed.
Yes.
It looks like a barren place, hot, because it's in the middle of summer, isn't it? Like,
yep,
it is.
With a bunch of people high and drunk. I don't know.
Yes, yes. In fact, when you put up your graphic, trippy trips, I thought, oh, perfect, because it certainly is that. When you go to the Burning Man, it's very trippy. And in fact, the story that I'm going to tell you happens at the end of the burn after I've got like a 5-day MDA hangover going.
Oh my God.
And so does my partner, and we're driving through the desert. It was quite a scene. This is, here's another little view. This is this is a piece of installation art. It says live, and there's a guy sitting on it. And there's another one just like it that says love. And there's the artwork there is just unbelievable.
Right.
And,
wow.
So anyways, we're traveling in this.
Very nice.
We've got our trailer and our Jeep. And oh, by the way, Denny, I love your new rig. It looks like so much fun. I'm jelly.
My rig was in Burning Man, and the people that owned it, that we rented it off, conceived their baby in it.
Oh, wow. But it just looks like the perfect vehicle for the burn and for camping on the beach as well.
We
But
only
anyways,
rented.
we're in this, it's our little egg. And I think the theme of the burn that year, because there's a different theme every year.
Right.
And that year, the theme was the floating world. So there was a lot of people who had made huge ships that looked as if they were floating across the desert because it's extremely flat. So they can make the ship only a few inches off of the ground. So at any distance, it really appeared to be floating. And
Especially with all that MDA.
oh,
No
exactly.
kidding.
And various other drugs. But we had made a parade float, because you can interpret the floating world any way you want.
Right.
So we had made a parade float with a grand piano on it and 5,000 watts of amplification power. And we used to drive it around to the porta potties and entertain the people in line.
Oh, wow.
And the macerators were working. But anyways, we had the most incredible time. It was just fantastic. But as we were leaving in our vehicle, we took a wrong turn.
Oh, God.
And when you're in the middle of the Nevada desert and you take a wrong turn, bad things can happen, and bad things definitely happen to us. And the bad things that happened to us primarily looked like this.
Oh, God. Jackrabbit.
Jackrabbits.
They're cute.
Oh, they're adorable. When they're three-dimensional.
Right.
When you compress them down to 2 dimensions, they're not as cute.
Oh, no. You ran over a bunch of rabbits.
Like 1,000 of them.
Oh, my God.
Yes, we're driving, the road we had taken went so far off the beaten track, there is absolutely no light. It was pitch black, there was no signs of civilization anywhere. And by the time we realized, and you have to remember this also, this is like 2003, so I'm not even carrying a cell phone at this point. We don't have GPS in the vehicle. We've taken a wrong turn, we're in the pitch black, and the headlights just keep illuminating jackrabbits, which for some reason jumped directly in front of the car.
Oh, no.
And we're going, they're just like splat, splat, splat.
Oh,
And they're getting kicked up from behind the Jeep wheels and landing on the trailer.
Oh
So
my God. Oh my God. Holy shit.
it was just heartbreaking.
oh, my God.
So we drove and we drove and we drove and we drove and we drove, and eventually the Jeep was running out of gas, and we're still in the middle of nowhere, and it's pitch black out, and we're still crushing probably 4 hairs an hour.
Oh, God.
And so we actually, it was probably more than that, because when it was at its heaviest, it was like 1 jackrabbit every 20 seconds. So it's hard to say how many were killed that day, but eventually the Jeep did run out of gas. And so we're sitting there, and way off in the distance, there's a little light. And we thought, please let that be some kind of civilization.
Oh, my God.
So we had a trike in the trailer, because at Burning Man, of course, you do a lot of your traveling by bike or trike or some kind of strange vehicle. And we pulled it out of the trailer, we got on it, and we drove towards the light. And it wasn't that far away, it was like a half a mile away. And when we got there, it was a closed gas station. And it was directly across the street from an open hotel. And it was in a little town that we were headed towards anyway.
Okay.
So we had taken this incredible odyssey of a detour, but we wound up, hours and hours after we should have got there in the town where we had to go anyway. So we overnighted there and filled the Jeep up in the morning and continued. And
Wait, did you hose off the like hair guts?
when we got to the gas station, not the first gas station, because the first gas station we took a jerry can, filled it up, took it back. But then we drove on, that was in Cedar Falls. And from Cedar Falls, we drove to a little town called Alturas. And at Alturas, we stopped to actually fill the tank. And yes, at that point, we realized that it was a good thing we had invested in a bra for the trailer, because it was covered in dead jackrabbits.
Oh God. So like, okay, but like, so now when you are in a shitty store and you see a rabbit's foot, like, do you have like, you know,
flashbacks? Yeah, it's like when you go to A&W and see the bear. It's horrifying.
oh my goodness.
I just picture, you know, like you guys going through this, you know, through the pitch black, hitting these hairs, you know, like this, and just this little troop of coyotes behind you guys going,
Wait,
doing all the work.
Manna from heaven.
high five.
Yeah.
I just have to say, I really do. Here in Vancouver, I slow down when I see the bunnies outside IKEA. Like,
Yeah.
and here in Vancouver, we have, well, the Richmond Rabbit Rehab for dumped bunnies. So I want everyone in listening to Reed's story, please think of the Richmond Rabbit Rehab and either donate some time or some rabbit food to them, because they're trying to prevent rabbit genocide as described.
Wow. Wow. Oh, well, that was amazing, Reed. Like I'm just never going to look at a jackrabbit the same again. I doubt you do either. You and your partner are just like, whoa.
Never see another one. It'll be too soon.
Oh gosh.
All the rabbits are just looking at you like this, like
Rabbit.
giving you the stink eye. No, okay. Well, let's bring on our next. We're on a fucking trajectory here. This is awesome.
We are.
So, Jen, what
It's going to help us go even deeper. Pardon?
Yes. Can you introduce our next guest?
Yes. Our next guest is the lovely and talented Camille Gingras. And Camille is a writer and a teacher, a theater professional, and a very seasoned world traveler. But it doesn't always work out.
Doesn't always work out. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Camille.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Good.
So now, Camille, I know that your story is you were trying to create the highest point of romance.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. With my new Mexican lover who became my husband.
Right.
Yeah. So we had a kind of a quick fling in Vancouver 5 days before he left. And, you know, we'd kind of religiously stayed in contact through email and, you know, and long texts. And, you know, we would have phone sex every time his mom went to sleep. But, you know, we hadn't kind of like really gotten to that place where we, you know, we knew where this was going, or, you know, had kind of consummated the relationship kind of from casual to committed. So I decided to fly down to Mexico and see how things could land between us.
Right.
And I'm a bit of a planner. I like to kind of have a sense of where this kind of like act of consummation can happen. So I had, you know, without even thinking to ask my new Mexican lover for advice, I kind of went quickly through the Lonely Planet, and I found this place called Marawata, which the Lonely Planet described as a wild rustic paradise on an equally wild part of the Pacific coast. And there were no hotels, there were no shops, no banks. It was just quite remote. And I thought
a bunch of dead jackrabbits.
Close. It was, yeah, it was, in my mind, it was perfect. But when we arrived in Marawata, we'd stayed up the night before at the Day of the Dead. And so we jumped on a bus. We'd been drinking tequila all night, partying. And we'd gotten on a bus like at about 3, 4 in the morning, carried on kind of drinking tequila from the bottle on the bus ride as we kind of went from the mountains out towards the Pacific coast.
Right.
And so when we arrived at Marawata, my hangover just kind of started to kick in. And if I party too much, I get really bad cystitis when I'm dehydrated.
What is cystitis? What is that?
Yeah, for those of you that never experienced cystitis, it's like having a bladder infection, but when you pee, it's like pissing razor blades.
Ooh.
So
it's worse than a jackrabbit genocide.
It's worse than a jackrabbit genocide, and it's really not optimum for states of consummation. You know, it just doesn't work. So anyway, so we arrive at Marawata, and first indication should have been we get off the bus pulls away, and we're in this like really quite there's kind of tumbleweeds going by. And the sign is completely, it's just seen better days. It's rusty, it's creaky. It once said Bienvenido a Marawata in the 70s, maybe when it was first painted. You can't really see it. And there's vultures just circling over you know. So you're trying to kind of not take any of it as some kind of like sign of what's to come in the relationship, or at least I wasn't. So we kind of head down to our cabana, which is going to be right on the beach. And we make our way through this town. It's still asleep. And you know, we pass the Alcohólicos Anonymous, which was the only place that I kind of recognized, the AA, and everything else is closed. And we show up at our cabana, and it is not. It isn't what I envisioned. There was no kind of boutique, you know, kind of like rustic kind of glamping hotel. It was literally this kind of, it was a wooden shed on the beach with a bunch of other wooden sheds. And it didn't have a door that you recognize. It didn't go all the way to the ground. The door kind of was a toilet stall with a latch on it. And when you opened the toilet stall door and went into the room, there was no floor. It was just sand, which was just covered in rat prints. And, you know, and clearly in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I need water, I need a shower, and then we'll fall into clean white sheets, but there's no toilet, there's no washroom, there's no complimentary bottled water. And all there is this like mattress in the middle of this room, and it's just popping with bed bugs or sandflies.
Oh God.
So, and I'm trying to be really cool for my New Mexican lover. And I don't want to like, you know, show up myself as like some kind of uptight North American. So I'm kind of changing from plan B to plan C, which is, okay, I need to find a restaurant with a good washroom so I can kind of clean up, get lots of water in me. And once I kind of do the razor blade piss, then we could go back and I can figure out some way how to get onto this mattress. Because I really, you know, I just wanted to kind of seem like I was easygoing and I could kind of go with the flow. Like I was a seasoned traveler. I've been there, I've done that. And I have when I was younger, but I was older and just a bit more uptight. So anyway, we kind of decide to just kind of gingerly leave our packs. And there's nothing on Candace's face, that's my partner. There was nothing on his face that would have shown that he kind of thought that there was anything just outrageous about this place.
Right.
He seemed like it was like the most natural place in the world. So I thought, well, this is how, you know, people camp in Mexico, or how people kind of do the beach life in Mexico. So we go to the first restaurant, and there's no water. And so we go to the second restaurant and the third, and there's no water in either. And I say, well, that's okay. We'll go for some beer. And the person that ran the restaurant said, well, there's no beer. And I said, okay, well, maybe we can have seafood. And there was no seafood.
Well,
So
what the fuck did they have?
Coffee. They had coffee at the AA meeting.
Yeah, maybe. That wasn't open yet. Nothing was really kind of open. So we end up back in the last place on the highway. And they do have some warm water, and they've got warm beer. It hadn't quite been in the fridge long enough, and one fish. So we decide, okay, that's great. And the first thing I say is, where's your washroom? And they say it's broken. So I end up in the cantina next door to the restaurant, which did have a washroom. and I'm trying to go pee in this shed with a hole in the ground and an agitated rooster in the shed. And I'm trying to pee, and the rooster is trying to go for the urine. He's trying to like get at my urine, and I'm trying to kick him away with my foot. And it's, you know, and you've got cystitis and sand in your pants. And so it's not going well. So I kind of fly out of the bathroom, and Candace and I, before we know it, we're there with our one fish and our warm beer, and we're just at each other's throat. It's just, the trip's not going well. The love affair is not going well. And we're at each other's throats. And I'm basically saying, look, I can't do this anymore. I'm too freaking old for this. And Candace said, well, I have no problem with moving. And he said, I just thought that this was a Canadian thing, and you wanted to kind of do some like wilderness camping. And I was
It is a Canadian thing, because many people in Mexico are trying not to go camping.
Exactly.
They're trying to steal out of the campsite.
So he was kind of doing it for me and kind of not saying anything. Anyway, we're mid-fight, and when the Corona truck rolls into town, and it's honking its horn, and it was like a switch that went off on this town, like one by one, all the lights in these like places start going on. And as the Corona truck is delivering the booze, like people are like literally opening their shutters and coming out in their best cowboy shirts and their snakeskin boots, and like, you know, the sounds are coming from all the different cantinas, and it's literally, it just, in the morning, it's just become this party town.
It's like the ice cream truck equivalent, right?
It was the ice cream truck that came to town.
Right.
And so all of this is kicking up around us, and we're still, you know, not kind of really in a good place with each other. And this big pickup truck pulls up to us. It comes straight, like, you know, makes a beeline for us and just pulls up where our table is on the side of the road. And it's full of kids. There must have been about 15 kids from the age of, like, I would say 8 to 19. And some of them have sticks and some of them have guns. And the older ones are in kind of army fatigues. They're kind of a gang or a group. And they show up and they all begin swarming our tables. And because they want money for booze for the party that night. And they're sweet, but there's an edge, right? I mean, they are surrounding us with guns and sticks, and they're kind of playfully pointing them at us, but you know, you're not really sure like when the game is just going to switch. So Candy and I just kind of very instantly recognized, look, I think we need to get out of this town and go somewhere else.
You think?
And we think. And so we kind of discovered that the last bus was literally showing up in a matter of minutes. And so we had to kind of race down to the shed on the beach, grab our stuff and haul it up to the highway. Otherwise we were going to be stuck in this town for the night. And so we run down, grab our stuff. And Candace, you know, we're kind of fascinated too. And Candace's a video guy, so he's got his camera and is filming. And I was commentating. We made this goofy movie as we're trying to like get out of town. For some reason, we thought it'd be fun to document it. And we're on our way up to the town, hauling our packs. And we get surrounded by the kids again. They've appeared out of nowhere, and they're all around us, and they're walking with us, but they're kind of closing us in. And they're really interested in Candace's camera, and they want Candace to come with them because they've just slit a pig's belly open, and they want, or had they done it yet? I think they wanted him to film, that's right, them slitting the pig's belly open. And so we very quickly agreed that maybe, okay, he could quickly do that, and I would take the packs and flag the bus down because we didn't want to piss these kids off. So Candy goes off with them. I'm there waiting for the bus, and I thought he was going to be literally like 5 minutes behind me, and he just doesn't show. Like, time is ticking. He's not showing. The people in the canteen are getting really rowdy and are trying to get me to come into the bar. The bus is coming on the horizon, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Like, and I really kind of got it in my head that maybe they'd stolen his camera from him and they were slitting open his belly and were filming him. I'd just gone into kind of like a dark cystitis-like place from too much tequila. And like, it's just, I was really not oriented. And so the bus shows up on the horizon, And I have this kind of moment where I have a real survival streak in me. And I just kind of thought, well, like, do I just jump on the bus and just kind of cut loose? Like, we haven't kind of fully committed to this yet.
My mom would have.
Right, your mom would have, for sure.
Me too.
Someone else too. Anyway, so I jump on the bus, and before I know it, I'm basically saying, like, please, like in my really bad Spanglish, I'm going, please, please. My boyfriend's just coming, and I realize I'm actually saying the word boyfriend. I'm saying he's just coming, and he's going to get on the bus. So can you just wait? And the bus driver is really tough guy and was just basically saying, like, look, you either get on the bus and we go, or you get off the bus and I go. And so it was like, became this kind of metaphorical moment that stretched out, where it was like, well, do I stay on the bus? Like, do I get on the bus, or do I get off the bus and make a life with this guy? Or anyway, what was actually going on for Cande, unbeknownst to me, is he was actually captured by the children, and he'd been put in a kind of a village prison. It did have bars, and they'd taken his video camera and they were filming him. And part of the deal was, in order to get out of prison, and it was a game, but it wasn't a game, was he had to get out of prison. He had to put on this giant cardboard box with bull horns on it. And he had to fight the leader of the gang, who also had a box on his head with bull horns. And they kind of pretended that they were bulls, and they ran across this kind of expanse and had a bullfight. And that
Are you
was
sure you weren't at Burning Man? That sounds a lot like Burning Man.
I know. We didn't even eat the worm. So yeah, that was going on meanwhile. And I'm just about to, we're at this moment where, like, what do I do? Like, do I get off the bus or not? And Cande does appear, and he comes running with this glass of mezcal in his hand, raised. I guess he won it from the leader. And it was this incredible mezcal, but he just comes running triumphantly. And that was just kind of the moment where I realized, okay, we're in, we're in. And we got in the bus and we got out of that town, and we ended up in another place.
You know what I find so interesting about this, though, Camille, is like you were there in November, right? You were there for the Day of the Dead. That's when you went down. So November, yeah. And the Day of the Dead is so weird. It's like celebrating death.
Yeah.
So it's the good luck of the bad luck, the life within the bad luck. So it was like this perfect launch pad into this horrendous adventure that you had, where it was like the worst luck bringing you now, Cande is your husband, you have beautiful children, you have a new puppy, which is not necessarily good luck yet, but maybe will be. But it's so weird how that fits in with.
Well, and it was kind of I'd always been a little bit, I have to admit, a bit gun shy in terms of settling down with people. I'd always been a bit of a wanderer. So that was kind of a turning point. And the irony is that Cande, although he came to settle here in Canada, he's a settler. He's not a traveler. Like, so it's a really interesting dynamic. I really thought that we would be on the road together, and he's a real homebody, and he loves his home in Canada.
Wow.
And did he get his camera back?
He did. Yeah, he got his video back, and we did use some of the footage. It was pretty fascinating. It was very Lord of the Flies. It was just a really intense town that we decided to go and visit.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, the Lonely Planet wasn't far off.
Now, okay, so now we're getting a little bit short on time, right,
yes.
Jen, for our last guest here. That was awesome, Camille. Thank you so much. That was great. So why don't we, Jen, again, I'm going to pass it over to you to introduce TJ, because I don't really know him that well, and you do.
Well, you haven't lived, because TJ of fringe festivals and other festivals internationally. He also directs, and he's been writing his own work since he could write words on pages. And so please give a warm welcome to the stellar TJ Daw.
Hello,
Yay.
thank you. Happy to be here.
Hi.
So, hi. And Christine, I've seen you on stage many times. volunteer at Vancouver Theatre Sports the summer that Star Trek the Musical was a new thing. And I saw it dozens of times. I loved
Love
it.
that.
And I
Oh,
loved your
good.
German accent.
Well, thank you so much, TJ. So good to have you here. Yeah. Hallo, Ensign Toast. Wie geht's? Awesome.
So
now
TJ, you've traveled the world, I mean, as a performer.
Mostly Canada, but yes, a few other places.
Mostly Canada, but you've been in the States a lot too.
I have been in the States a lot, yeah.
And also, did you do the Australian fringes? And
I've done the Adelaide Fringe twice, and I've done the Edinburgh Fringe once. I died a painful death all three of those times.
Oh,
Got me scurrying back to Canada, where I'm better known and where there's a lot less competition.
okay. So,
Wow.
so your story is fringe related? I'm not sure.
It is, yeah. This takes place in the late 90s when I was just getting my start. So I started touring the Fringe in the late 90s. And the summer of 1998 was the first summer that I was doing my own material as I toured.
Yep.
And I did a full Fringe circuit tour from Montreal to Vancouver, which you could do at the time. You know, you could just apply to all these different festivals, and chances are, if you wanted to get in, you were in. And it was still a tough go. You still had to pound the pavement and hand out flyers to lineups, but you could at least make somewhat of a go of it if you had a hook, if you knew how to sell your show, if you got good word of mouth. And I was just starting out, so I didn't know those things. I didn't know how to do these things. So I was just learning as I went, but I didn't have any reputation. And I had a show with an abstract title and with a long concept, like a bizarre concept that it took me like 10 minutes to explain when I was flyering. So I was broke, basically. I was broke. And the only way to make a go of it on the Fringe is to cut costs wherever you can. And Fringes very generously put you up in somebody's house.
Right.
It's the only way that it's feasible to tour. It's just staying in even the cheapest motel, not an option. So I was doing a one-person show. I had a stage manager, Linda. We were touring in her car, which was a little hatchback. And I've toured a lot since then. You know, I've done more than 100 Fringe festivals. I've known a lot of people that have toured. I have never heard of anybody who had a tour the way I had in 1998. Full of trials. It was really one of those, the universe saying, how bad do you want this, kid, kind of experiences. And I kept bouncing back. And one of those blows was contracting mononucleosis mid-tour.
Ooh.
Initially misdiagnosed as tonsillitis.
Is that like pissing razor blades?
Swallowing razor blades.
Swallowing.
So it was mono-mimicking tonsillitis. So it was like super strep throat. And once they realized it was misdiagnosed, they took me off the penicillin because there's nothing you can do for mono except wait for it to go away.
Oh my God.
So I skipped out of my own Fringe tour. I abandoned my stage manager, Linda, in Saskatoon. I emptied my bank account with a one-way flight back to Vancouver, crashed out of my parents' couch in the burbs, and just waited, you know, because the doctor said, all you can do is wait. It'll be 3 months, it'll be 3 weeks, it'll be 3 years, you don't know.
Wow.
And I kicked it in 2 weeks. I don't know what happened, but maybe it was the rest. I suddenly felt okay. Now, my next tour stop was Kelowna. At the time, Kelowna had a Fringe, which had the same dates as Edmonton, because Edmonton was the biggest and the best Fringe. And if you didn't get into Edmonton, you could do Kelowna instead, which is what I was doing. I happen to have friends in Vancouver who were also doing a show at the Kelowna Fringe. I got a ride with them. Linda drives west from Saskatoon. We meet in Kelowna. Now, as you're doing this pre-internet, this is 1998, you're doing all your communications with the other festivals by snail mail, sending all your press kits by snail mail with actual physical photographs. The head of the Kelowna Fringe responds to nothing. When you call him up, you get a voicemail box, which is always full. And the listed address for him is a PO box. So there's nothing. So I get into Kelowna, and unlike every other city on the Fringe tour, there's no signs around. There's no central office to check in at. There's nothing. And my friends know where the guy lives. His name is Ihor Cyclo. It's as stranger than fiction.
Of course it is.
I've Googled it. Even Google doesn't know where the last name Cyclo comes from. Hungary, maybe. And I'm really not impressed, to put it mildly, at the way this guy is running these things, because I'm broke, and this is my attempt to try and get some kind of, you know, audience and some way to make some money at a Fringe. You're only making your box office. So how can we make a go of this? How can we do this? And we track him down. We go to his house, and I'm really ready to lay into him. And Ihor Cyclo does what I discover is kind of his signature move, which is he looks at you with those Mandrake the Magician eyes that just kind of spin in circles, tells you that everything is all right. And no matter what mood you're in and no matter what your circumstances are, you find yourself saying, yes, they are. And I believe you. Now, Ihor has nowhere to send us. He hasn't set up any billets, but he assures us with his hypnotic eyes that the board of directors is making phone calls and they'll have billets for us to stay at like any day. But in the meantime, Linda and I are free to camp in his backyard. And then another company is staying on his couch. And then another company is staying in his guest room. And he's a divorced father and his son is staying with him as well. There's only 12 shows at the Kelowna Fringe. A quarter of them are staying in this guy's house. As the Fringe continues, not only does nobody get a billet, but there's no sign of this board of directors. Like one of the other people staying there points out, like, how many people are on a board of directors? Like at least 2 or 3. Well, then just put people with some of them. That never happens. We never meet them. They probably don't exist. We just stay camping in his backyard. About halfway through the festival, he turns the hot water off. He says it's too expensive to have all these people staying in his house. He turns the hot water off. So, okay, I just jump in the lake every day. He's got lakefront property. I'm staying on a tent in his yard. The lake is 10 feet away. I just go swimming every day.
Wow.
The venue he gets for us is an empty church. I have to scrounge cardboard boxes from recycling bins because there's light bleed from the big stained glass windows. So I get up on a ladder and I tape up cardboard to these windows. He has rented it out from under us on the Friday for a wedding. So I have to find another venue. And he has paid our venue tech with a post-dated check, which I find out later bounces. That's supposed to pay the guy's wage from that festival and the festival the year before that he hadn't been paid for.
God.
I have a feeling that Ihor has stakes in an Airbnb in the town where Camille stayed with Candace. That's his Airbnb.
That was his shed.
His house is
And I'm
decorated.
surprised that Ihor is divorced.
Me too.
That's weird.
And he lives in a pretty decent house. And I have no idea what he does for a living. And the house is exclusively decorated with framed posters of plays that happened from the Manitoba Theatre Center.
Oh.
That he was somehow involved in some way. So in spite of all this, my show ends up going actually really well. I get reviews, audiences come out, and before the end of the festival, I'm selling out, and I actually make better box office there than practically anywhere else in the tour up to that point.
Right.
Wow.
A year later, Ihor just cancels the festival, like at the weeks before it's supposed to happen, stranding all the performers who are supposed to be there. A few years later, Ihor shows up dead in a river.
What?
I've Googled
Dead
this.
in a river.
I can't confirm it. I
Oh my
don't know if that's definitely what happened, but it doesn't surprise me that he might have gotten on the wrong side of the wrong people.
Well,
Wow.
I'm not surprised I don't know that many fringe performers who have connections in organized crime other than me, but I never went to Kelowna.
Kelowna is a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Maybe the Edinburgh Fringe kind of, offed him. It was just like, some thugs from some, guys from the Edinburgh Fringe. I don't even know why I'm saying that, but
there's a lot of criminal type peeps in Kelowna though, right?
Are there?
Yeah. Well, I only say that from a stand-up perspective, my limited view.
Right.
That's
Also,
another story, another show.
A lot of church people. So, if he didn't get on the wrong side of organized criminals, he might have gotten on the wrong side of the Christians.
Organized Christians.
You got to be careful.
Twisted baptism. It's a baptism in a very fast-moving river.
Yeah, they're still waiting for him to resurrect.
Oh my God. Well, TJ, that's an awesome story, and I know that you have to go. So
I do.
That's kind of our time as well. So
right.
Thank you to everybody for. Oh my God, Reed. Is that Ihor behind you?
Oh no!
He sent me some of his vacation shots. I'd share it with you. There he is.
There he is. Oh, Ihor.
Wow.
Very
There he
nice.
is.
Yeah.
Thank you, all of
That's
you,
amazing.
for sharing your shit shows and your dead jackrabbits and and Criminal Kids Gone Wild and Bad Billets. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We'll have to do it again sometime. So thank you everyone who is watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.